This type of question is fairly common, and this one in particular, where we got to find a cubic whose roots are the square of another cubic, is not that easy if you haven't seen it before. So what we're going to do, as promised on the thumbnail to this, we have a quick method, but first of all we're going to do it by the traditional method, which does get a little bit messy. We're going to use Vieta's formulae. So anyway, let's go. Here is the cubic. The three roots are alpha, beta and gamma, and we need to find the equation of the cubic with roots alpha squared, beta squared and gamma squared. Okay, so using Vieta's formula, we got Vieta here, we have alpha add beta add gamma is equal to minus b over a, which equals 4, which is this one. We have that alpha beta add beta gamma add gamma alpha, which is c over a, is equal to minus 5. And we have that alpha beta gamma, which is minus d over a, is equal to minus 14. And what we need to find is we need to find a cubic with roots alpha squared, beta squared and gamma squared. So what we need to do using these, we need to find alpha squared add beta squared add gamma squared, which will be the new minus b over a. That's the new equation, the cubic that we're looking for. Alpha squared, beta squared, add beta squared, gamma squared, add gamma squared, alpha squared. That will be the new c over a, and this is the one that causes the problem. And alpha squared, beta squared, gamma squared, that will be minus d over a of the new equation. And these will be the alpha squared, beta squared and gamma squared. So let's do the easy ones first. So alpha squared add beta squared add gamma squared is relatively easy. That basically we're going to use alpha add beta add gamma squared, which is alpha add beta add gamma times by alpha add beta add gamma. That equals alpha squared add beta alpha add gamma alpha add beta alpha add beta squared add gamma beta add gamma alpha add beta gamma add gamma squared. All I've done there is I've just multiplied this out, and that equals alpha squared add beta squared add gamma squared, and that's the bit that we want, add 2 alpha beta add gamma alpha add beta gamma. And we know alpha add beta add gamma, and we know alpha beta add alpha beta gamma add gamma alpha, and so therefore we can put that alpha squared add beta squared add gamma squared, which is the new minus b over a, is equal to 4 squared minus 2 times minus 5, which equals 26. So we have that minus b over a of the new cubic is equal to 26. So that's that one done. That's quite easy. Now this one obviously is very easy, because basically alpha squared beta squared gamma squared is simply equal to alpha beta gamma squared, and alpha beta gamma we have as minus 14, so therefore alpha squared beta squared minus gamma squared is 196, and that's minus d over a. And that just leaves us with the tricky one now, which is how do we work out what alpha squared beta squared add beta squared gamma squared add gamma squared alpha squared is, given these three here. And it's not easy if you haven't seen it before. And remember, in a minute we're going to do a much quicker method, which is much neater than this and gets the answer out in about half a minute. Okay, so let's have a look how we're going to do alpha squared beta squared add beta squared gamma squared add gamma squared alpha squared. What we're going to have to expand is alpha beta add beta gamma add gamma alpha squared, which is alpha beta add beta gamma add gamma alpha times by alpha beta add beta gamma add gamma alpha. And okay, this is just a little bit alpha squared beta squared add alpha beta squared gamma add alpha squared beta gamma add alpha beta squared gamma add beta squared gamma squared, and you can see there's the first one and here's the second one of what we want. Add alpha beta gamma squared, add alpha squared beta gamma, add alpha beta gamma squared, add gamma squared alpha squared, and that's the third one. And so basically now what we have, just tidying it all up, we have that alpha squared beta squared add beta squared gamma squared add gamma squared alpha squared is equal to, what was it that we were expanding? Oh yeah, here, is equal to alpha beta add beta gamma add gamma alpha squared. And here's the clever bit, minus, if we look at all of these terms here, they're basically two lots of, we can take alpha beta gamma out as a common factor, and that leaves us with alpha add beta add gamma. And like I say, if you haven't seen this before, you certainly wouldn't want to have to try and find this in an exam. So finally that equals minus 5 squared minus 2 times minus 14 times 4, that's that one and that's that one, which equals 25 add 112, which is 137, and that is C over A. So finally we have C over A, we have D over A, and we have minus B over A. So we can now write our solution, which is x cubed minus 26x squared, which is the B over A. And remember, minus B over A is 26, so B is minus 26. C is this one, 137, the one that we just worked out, 137x, and then D over A was minus D over A is 196, so therefore D is minus 196 equals 0, and we have our answer. But you can see it is a little bit messy, and there is a really neat way to get this. Okay, so let's just start our question again. Here we go. So, given that we got this root, we want the equation of the cubic. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're just going to rearrange our equation here to x cubed minus 4x squared minus 5x add 14 equals 0. So that's our equation. Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to rearrange it. X cubed minus 5x. We're going to put the odd powers on this side, and we're going to put the even powers on the odds of the 0 powers on the other side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take x out as a factor of here, x squared minus 5, and then we are going to square it, and we're going to square the other side as well. And now what we can do here is we can take that x squared out. So we've got x squared minus 5 squared is 4x squared minus 14 squared. Now the nice thing about this is everything is x squared. So all we need to do now is let y equal x squared, and the cubic that we find in y will be the one we seek, and its roots will be the square of the cubic in x. So all we need to do now is put y in here. That gives us y minus 5 squared is equal to 4y minus 14 squared, and all we've got to do is expand that, y cubed minus 10y squared add 25y equals 16y squared minus 112y add 196, and just putting all that on the same side, we have y cubed minus 26y squared add 137y minus 196 equals 0, and hey presto, we have our answer much quicker than using Vieta's formulae here. So it's a very neat little trick. Basically it works for whenever you want to find alpha squared, beta squared and gamma squared. If you want to find the equation of the squares, it works for quartics as well, and of course it works for quadratics, but in actual fact for quadratics it's the Vieta's formulae is probably just as easy or quicker. But it's a very nice little trick. If you do get it in the exam, then I hope you use it, save you a valuable minute or two. If you've enjoyed this, then please like it and subscribe to the Gresty Academy YouTube channel. Thank you.